Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are all very welcome. Welcome to the Green Eyed Ram. I'm Ruthie. Thank you for joining me today. I am a gal who lives in Ecuador with my family, and I have some Angoras, and I have a few sheep, and I have a few goats, and some ducks, and some chickens, and a garden, and I love to do things. Anything ending in an ing. I love to spin and knit and crochet and paint and lots of things. And that's what this show is about. This show, this podcast, this interaction, this chat that you and I are having. Actually, I am having, you are listening. But feel free to put comments down below because I really enjoy interacting with you guys, getting to know you, know where you're from, know what your interests are. The last few episodes I've had some great comments, and I've really enjoyed getting to know and hear the stories of other people who have had some experience with the things that are pretty much new to me. I've lived in Ecuador for 5 years now. And sheep and goats are new. I did have chickens before, and so I am familiar with those, and I love them. But every day is an adventure. So that's basically what my podcast is about. I'd like to start today with talking about those, my rabbits, my Angoras, and my sheep. My plan is to talk to you about an experiment in blending and carding Angora with a knot merino. Talk about some of my a whip I have going, some FOs, and life in general. So let's hope that I have good lighting. I'm sitting in the sun has decided to break through the very rainy looking clouds. And my neighbors' dogs are doing their wonderful effort to just bark up a storm right when I need quiet. Patience is a virtue. I'm still working on that one. Okay, so let's talk about I have 3 sheep. And when I bought the sheep, I was told they were merino. Welcome to Ecuador. Sometimes things happen, and I don't believe it's merino. Maybe she didn't even know, or maybe that's what they call a merino, because here in Ecuador, tacos are like stiletto shoes, and in Mexico, a taco is something you eat. So sometimes the same word in another language, even the same language in a different country, can mean something completely different. And my lack of knowledge mixed in there, and this is what I ended up with. Long story short, I bought a pregnant merino, and at first, after the first shearing, I thought, oh, this poor sheep must be in poor health because her coat just breaks, and you know, that could very well have been the reason why her fiber wasn't great to work with, and yet excellent to felt. Really excellent if you are into felting. Not so much if you're into spinning and knitting, which I like to do. I also felt, so a season has gone by, and recently we just sheared our sheep, and I got their beautiful fiber, and to be honest, I'm back to the same thing. It isn't, I mean, the crimp is amazing, and it cleaned up beautifully, but I mean, here's an example. If I can show you, if you can see, look at the crimp. Can you see that? Oh, I'm not anywhere near it. Can you see that? Maybe not. There. So she has very tight curl crimp, and it washed up beautifully. It's a lovely fiber. But each individual fiber and the micron of that fiber is, I don't know, not great. So I decided that I would do an experiment. I have Angora rabbits, and Angora fiber is a little different. I thought I brought a little baggie of Angora. Angora fiber is very long and soft and fluffy. Anyone who's had an Angora sweater or ever touched an Angora knows that it's really soft. It's really soft, but it doesn't have any tooth. The fibers don't have, on the actual shaft of the fiber, the structure of the shaft of a sheep's fiber is that it has scales that sort of sit one on top of the other. And so they lock when they are spun more easily than Angora, which Angora is long and slippery and has much fewer scales on the actual shaft of each fiber. I knew I had two types of fibers to work with. I had one that was really scratchy. It had many scales on the shaft and felted really well. And then I had the slippery silkiness of the Angora that felted, but not as quickly or as easily. And I thought, well, why don't I experiment with trying to mix these two and card them together? So let's talk about how you do that. The first thing I wanted to show you was how awesome it was to clean. I know you're like, cleaning? That's an awesome thing? Sure. Well, when you have a sheep and you get the fresh fleece, sometimes, you know, if you have the luxury of Amazon and you can order in, you're going to get bats of fiber that you can spin that are already cleaned, already carded, and that's not my world. My world says do everything from scratch, and this is how I did it. So how you wash it, and the magic that happens when you soak it, and how pretty it looks afterwards. So let me show you that first. Look at these beautiful locks. Look at the curl and crimp in that. Wow. But I want to show you what happens when I wash it. Just going to add some hot water to this bowl. It's not that hot, actually. It's warm. And just a little bit of soap. Mix it around. Okay. You don't want to agitate the water very much. Okay, but I'm going to take this handful of amazing fleece, and you are going to watch something incredible happen. Look at that. The water just immediately the linen starts coming out, and the water gets super nasty, and so nasty, but the fleece gets so clean. So watch the magic happen. This is the magic happening. And I just let it sit for a minute or two, and then I will rinse it probably 3 times. And it sat for just a minute or two, and I'm just going to literally pour off all that nastiness. And look at that. Incredible whiteness. I love it. And I'll do that again in like 3 times. Not with soap. I'm done with the soap. Now it'll just be water, and it will start lifting out any of the little veg and things that you might find in the wool. Now it's just sat there for a few minutes with occasional gentle agitation, just to look and see if there's anything big to take out. Now you might see little bits like that. That's no big deal, because as I card this, those will just pop right out, so they're not encrusted. But check it out, watch. So try to gently push it to the side, and any of the bits that may be in the water floating away will just, the water's pretty clear at this point. Usually this is done two-handed, so I don't lose any in the drain, but that's okay. Look at it. It's lovely and clean. And now I'll put it into this little basket I have that has all these wonderful holes, and just toss it in there and not manipulate it very much. Just spread it out a tad so it doesn't mat, and just let it dry in the sun and start carding. Next step. I've washed and dried, actually sun dried all of this fiber. It's an experiment. I'd like to weigh and see how much of the sheep's wool that I actually have, and I'm going to use a percentage of Angora, and I'm going to do 2 batches to see which one produces a more comfortable fiber for me. So this is my Ashford carder, drum carder. Let me show you the other side. It has a handle on one side and a clamp that holds it to the table. Here's a really good example of what the first pass looks like. Right here you still have some bright white. That's the Angora, so it's not quite mixed in. I probably need to do it 3 more passes. I have passed this fiber through at least a half a dozen times, but the concern I have, and I don't know if you can see it if I move it, do you see all these little pills? It seems like this particular fiber, not the Angora, it's the wool, must break its tips or something. I don't know. So I am going to compare that to what it is by hand carding. So it gave me this spongy, I mean, look at, watch. If I squish it all up, watch this. It literally has, it's just like this puffy, great thing, which would be wonderful if you were just going to stuff a toy. But I wanted to spin it, and you see these little balls? Can you see that? Yeah, that's what happened. It started breaking off the tips, and these little nibs started filling the fiber with these little nibs, whatever they're called, and the fiber wasn't great. And I thought, first of all, I miscalculated how much wool I'm going to put through my carder, and it can only handle so much. It's not a really big drum carder, but I continued on. And then I spun some. So I mixed it with the Angora I had, and it did not spin well. First of all, in addition, I wanted to make a kind of a bulky yarn. I thought, oh, I'll make this bulky yarn. And as I made the yarn, I realized as I was spinning it, it's a mess. This is a mess. Okay. As I was spinning it, I was thinking, look, I thought, oh, well, it could be kind of art yarn. It's all these different sort of things, and it's very clunky, and it's still super rough. And it didn't want to, I couldn't draw it. I couldn't, I really struggled with creating the yarn. Now, to show you an example of what Angora by itself looks like when I spin it, this is a much more even, straight fiber. It's super soft, but as you can see, I mean, it's got drape, but look at the drape. And if I show you, this drapes. It has no memory. This is tight and firm. So I wasn't so happy with the result of that particular skein that I spun. So I thought, well, I wasn't going to get worked up about it. I thought, this is an experiment. Why don't I try something else? Why don't I try to take it to a slightly different level? I'm just trying to straighten up the skein here because I didn't twist it. It was hanging before I came. So instead of using the drum carder, I decided to hand card the wool fiber with the Angora, and I have no idea what the percentages ended up being. I just laid it on, maybe it was a third, I don't even know. I just mixed in some Angora, mixed in some of this fiber, and I spun it. Ignore the black. The black are just my little ties in. But I spun it, and as you can see, let me see, can you see? All right. Definitely thick and thin in places. That was intentional. I just let it do whatever it was going to do. But definitely more consistent than the bat that I got off the drum carder. So what was my lesson? My lesson was I still have not a great fleece from my own sheep that gives me, even when do I have any with me? Let me see. I will insert a picture of hand spun, just the sheep's wool, and show you that. I want to show you a few things actually. I'm going to use the fiber. I'm going to use, I have a couple of skeins, and most recently there is a new release by Aspen Leaf Knits, and I believe it's called the Sidewinder Beanie. And I waited to do this podcast before I cast it on so that I could at least show you the fiber before I got working with it. But I'm going to. I'm definitely going to. And the next video, hopefully, you'll see some progress on that. Okay, so the next thing, the next subject, the next theme I wanted to speak to you about. I've just completed my second Gloam cardigan. I can't show you everything, but just needless to say, it's going to be released this first week of June, so that's this week. Hopefully it'll be released and then I can show you it entirely, in its entirety. Language, hard, difficult. That's the first thing. So that's my only FO. That's the only thing I finished. I've been working on it, loving it, since the last time we talked. So I'm really a monogamous knitter. I really prefer to like have a project. I have a tree in my head. Have a project and just like focus on it. I thought maybe I really should think about taking a look at some of my whips. I have a couple things that I've started, socks that I've started, which I'm not even going to show you yet, maybe next week. Right now they're just sitting buried. But I have something that's an FO that needs to be redone. Now this is the sweater I've shown you before. It's by Denny Heraldi, and it's the entomologist. It was knit as a pullover. I'm just going to slip it on really quickly so you can see what's wrong with it. Police are going by. Okay. This was knit as a pullover. Obviously, I haven't even sewn in the ends. Now, parts of this sweater I love, parts of this sweater I can't stand. I love how the sleeves fit and feel. The wool is amazing. The lace work at the top was super fun to do. So, let me show you. Okay, here we go. It was a pullover, and I decided it was originally knit as a pullover, and I staked it, added a button band, and I thought, oh, you know, I can make it into a cardigan. I really like the bottom. I added this detail, isn't in the pattern. And guess what? It doesn't sit right. It doesn't sit right at all. In fact, as you can see, there's way too much skin showing here. It may be that I just need to block it again, or it may be that I need to add another layer on the top to give it, but it doesn't want to sit. It was a bad idea. So I like it and I hate it. I like the work, but I hate how it sits and how it feels. So it's a project that I don't want to frog it, I don't want to pull it all apart. And because I staked it, you know, honestly, the wool is just going to be in pieces, and that would suck trying to work with that. Knitting like a length and having to put it together, yeah, no. So I'm going to try to reblock it, and after I reblock it, I'm going to take a look at, can I give it, and if you guys have any ideas, please share with me. Tell me in the comments below what you think I should do. My idea is reblock it and see if I can make this collar smaller, because I think when it was a sweater, when it was a pullover, it was smaller, and I stretched the bejesus out of it to try to make it work. Maybe I just need to do the button band up and keep it, you know, put it back as a pullover again. I don't know. Add, you know, go back to the collar and make it longer. Help. I don't want to waste it. Okay, that was the first thing. The next one, this is a Kate Davies pattern called, it's in her Yokes book, called the Epistrophe. How do you say that? Anyways, it was supposed to be a cardigan, and it's not. right here, you can see I created a button band. Well, that wasn't a button band. That's where it was supposed to be staked into a cardigan. It's made with Malabrigo, and it's super soft, and I love it. I love the construction. I love how it feels, how it sits as a pullover. Okay. Problem is, it's too short. It's too short, and it's is it a bottom up or top down? I think it's a top down. So I may be able to just add to the length. Otherwise, what I might do, my thought was, is take something like this, or maybe some pink lacework, and add it to the bottom just to give it a little more length, because I'm constantly pulling it down, and I love how it feels. I love how it sits. It's comfortable, but yeah, doesn't work for me. So they are FOs, but they're FOs I'm unhappy with, so I have to fix them because I've done all this work and I'm happy with trying to come up with a fix. And again, any ideas will be accepted humbly. I do have a cast on though, and that cast on has to do with a cowl that I'm involved in, that I've been trying really hard to every month make a pair of socks. The cowl is with Kia Spod. Oops. She has a YouTube channel. She's out of Sweden. She's amazing. I really enjoy watching her podcasts. I enjoy her antics and her adventures. And she's a very creative woman, and that inspires me to be more creative myself. And the sock pattern is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's called Petit Fleur. Petit Fleur means small flowers, and this is how much I've done of the first sock. Yeah, nothing. I've cast it on today, this afternoon. I have 6 rows. It will be done with this and a white, so it'll be interesting. It's what I had in my stash. It's an Ecuadorian acrylic fingering weight yarn, nothing special. I'm doing it on Takumi bamboo knitting needles. They are really tiny, number 0, which is a 2 millimeter. And check it out on Instagram. You'll see my progress, because that's where I'll definitely be posting some pictures. That being said, what else? What else can I talk to you about? Let's see. I'm going to talk to you about the farm. I forgot about farm update. Well, farm update. Farm update. Let's see. Farm update. I didn't fall in the mud. I didn't get pooped on. Let's see. Farm update. Those are good things that did not happen. But what did happen is we made Chica, our dog, a new bed. Chica has this really horrible habit. I had some chairs on my front porch. I'm standing on the front porch right now, and in my backyard. And Chica loves to sit on our chairs. And she's a German Shepherd, so she leaves German Shepherd behind, which really isn't fun, because every time you want to sit by the fire or sit outside, you've got to wipe it off of dog hair. And she is doing her job at night. She is out here. She's part of my security system, and she's a great dog. However, the hair thing, not so much. So what I decided to do was use the same cushion that came off of one of my chairs, build her a chair of her own, put that cushion into her chair for a time, and then after she becomes familiar with sitting in it, then I'll make her her own cushion, and I'll take back my cushion, and she will have her own chica cushion. Here's a few pictures so you can see. We also are looking at expanding our garden beds. We've gotten all these politos, posts, and they will enclose another area so that we can plant some more. The greenhouse is doing really well with its little itty bitty starters that are teeny tiny. The tomatoes have gotten to the point where 2 of the tomato plants are ready to be strung. In my greenhouse, as the tomato plant grows, instead of staking or caging, I string, and as the plant grows up, I take the prominent branch and it gets a little wrap of the string, and that holds it to grow taller and branch out, and anything that are suckers below get taken off, and it helps produce more, in theory. So we have a lot of little starters in the greenhouse that need to be transplanted, and as I said before, our goal is this year to grow as much as we can so we can share it, because we certainly don't need it as a family. You know, how many heads of lettuce can you go through? How many things can you go through? I'm not keeping this food to save over time. I live in a spring-like climate. We can grow year-round, and so I don't need to can and to reserve. I just need to grow. And so we decided to clear an area off to the side here that I'll give you a little video and show you. And we're going to fence that in. And why are we fencing it in? Well, for 2 reasons. It becomes a secondary corral if I need it. I move my sheep. As you can see behind me, there's a corral here. There's 2. The sheep get moved every 2 days so that they get new grass, and the grass gets to grow. But sometimes you just need a place to put animals. So enclosing an area is great, but also it goes back to Chica. Chica has big paws, and Chica loves to do her job, which is to roam the property and bark at anything that is, you know, not on our property, that may look like wants to come on our property, which means she runs through beds that aren't raised. And rather than build raised beds, it's way okay. It's going to be better if I have an additional fenced off area that she can't even enter. And then I won't have to worry about her giant paws squishing little itty bitty baby plants. So there's that. The final segment. What's going on in Ruthie's life? Well, let me tell you. We, for those of you who don't know, we had a restaurant and we had to close it. We had a chocolate factory. We had to close that. Things have changed. And the plan was to sell everything and explore. Well, things happened, lockdown happened, and we had a little shop where we had taken, because we live outside of town, we had taken everything to a little location in the city so that we could sell it. And we've been closed for 3 months. My dog just decided to sit down. She's loud and heavy. The owner of that location has decided that he's lost his 6 restaurants that he had, and he needs to come back to his own space and set up something. So we got the boot, basically. We weren't expecting to be there for very long. Anyways, that was our agreement, but now he needs the space, so we had to find a new space. At first I was panicked. I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? We're in a lockdown. You know, how are we going to move things? How are we going to pack things? How do you do that? Because you don't have stuff, and you don't, and you don't want to get anybody sick, and we're, my husband is on that list of people who needs to be particularly careful because of his health. And so we prayed and prayed, and then we thought about it, and we thought, peace came over us, and we thought, you know what? This actually could be a blessing in disguise. Let's see how this plays out. Well, I kid you not, in less than 3 days, the brother who works for us is in our congregation. He went into town, and he started looking all around town, and just a few blocks away from where we were, even more into El Centro than we were, he found us a place. And so we've started to move in. And maybe that's the blessing, because maybe it'll be easier to sell things because we'll be where the people are. And we've started that. So we're moving our stuff, and we'll see how that goes. Stay tuned. Life has its challenges, not just for us. Everybody. And some of the most recent studies we've had in both our Watchtower studies on the weekends and our midweek meeting, there's been a lot about forgiveness. And I think we really all need to work on giving each other a break. Life is hard. It's hard for everybody. Could you just give them a break and apply some of that scriptural stuff that we've been learning for years? Or if you're new to studying the Bible, that you should be learning or will be learning. We're imperfect. I'm imperfect. You're imperfect. Take a breath. That's my thought for the day. Thanks for joining me here on the Green-Eyed Ram. That's me. See you next time, and please like and subscribe. That really helps my channel. I'm trying to grow this little channel to help support our efforts here and everywhere that we go. And we want to bring you along and keep you on our journey. So we'll see you next time, and we'll see what I come up with then. Bye.